Just click yes. Okay. So welcome to our call tonight. I'm really excited to be sharing with you guys tonight. It's kind of a little bit of a different format. And since we're all kind of risk takers here, let's do it. I'm shaking a little bit because, well, I've known this individual who's going to be sharing tonight for quite a few years. It's someone I really look up to and someone who I've learned a lot from and who's also been around me a lot in this business and through my experience. And so I asked this individual to share the other night. And at first it was a no. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm literally shaking right now. And so I asked my husband, Ben, to share the impact that Arbonne has had on our family, because I think so often we share how the business has impacted ourselves, but we don't often hear from someone who's so close to us how it has really impacted them. And I thought that since it is so close to month end and maybe some of us are feeling maybe like you're not where you want to be yet at this month, at this point in time, or maybe, you know, you've lost sight of your goals or your vision for what you want this business to be. Maybe this will provide some guidance and some insight or inspiration for you guys. So I asked him to share that, but he hasn't told me whether he's sharing on that or what he's sharing. That's why maybe I'm so nervous because I have zero clue what he's going to be sharing. So that's why I have wine. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my husband, Ben.
Hi.
So I am gonna just leave it to him. I'm gonna be maybe taking some notes and then I'll kind of wrap it up based on what he says. And maybe I'll just mute him if it's getting really bad, but here we go.
She's pretty nervous.
Yeah.
Okay. So Lindsay asked me to talk 2 days ago with very little notice, and I said no right away. But I thought about it a bit more, and I figured, yeah, I can throw something together that would be relevant to help out. So I kind of came up with what I call my Arbonne top 10. We've all seen The Late Show with David Letterman, and he had the top 10 on The Late Show, and it had a specific subject about it. So this is my top 10 ways that Arbonne's impacted our family and how I see it impacting Lindsay. So she has no clue what I wrote. This is just my take on it. I'm sure I'm not going to embarrass her that much, to be honest. But so yeah, I'll just get going. We'll only talk for 60 to 80 minutes and we'll get out of here right away. So number 10 on my top 10 for Arbonne affecting our family and Lindsay is diaper rash cream. Now, it might seem weird, but to me, that is number 10 on the list. And the reason that is in my mind, that's how Arbonne all started for our family, was diaper rash cream. It sounds pretty weird, but from what I remember, that was the first exposure I had to it, where Lindsay brought up this company and this magic diaper rash cream that fixed the kids. And when she first told me she was going to start out in Arbonne, I was wondering what the hell it was. And, you know, like, well, at the time I thought she was going back into the business world. And so it was kind of caught me off guard a bit. And then the diaper rash cream came into our lives. And then as I learned more about it, I realized it was a very relatable thing. And it was a normal product that we all use. And I found it really easy to just tell my buddies about it at hockey. Like, hey, your kid's bum is red. Here, try this. And like, it was easy. So that's my first memory of Arbonne and how Lindsay got started, was diaper rash cream. And it was cool because it was an easy way for her to help people. And we have a lot of friends that were having babies and that were our age. And so that was my first exposure. That's why it's number 10 on the list. Number 9 is nutrition and health. So this is a big one that obviously everyone resonates with in this group. It's a huge part of Arbonne. It's now a big part of our family life. When Lindsay and I first met, it was the last thing on my mind. I was a 2 bagels a day type of guy and go to the gym 5 days a week and still look like a boiled potato and never could figure out why. And Lindsay always would say, oh, it's all diet, Ben, it's all diet. And I was like, no, it's not, you're wrong. Just go to the gym and it's all you got to do. But it's been neat to see how over the years, she sort of she does the cooking for the most part. So, if we want
For the
to,
whole part,
yeah,
100% of the part.
if we want to eat, and if I want to survive, I'm going to eat what she makes, and it's good, but it's also very healthy. But that's one part that I've noticed is that it's a huge impact on me. First of all, I've learned a ton about it, and now I'm making healthy food and healthy choices and like vegetable smoothies, and my buddies make fun of me, but I've noticed a big difference with it. And also
in how you prepare food for our kids too.
True. Yeah. I actually do make healthy food for the kids. And it's also a huge lesson for the kids. It's cool that they're starting out now this early in life, knowing that this is the right way to live. And, having vegetables and fruits is good. And Noah hates chocolate. Like at some point he's going to get beat up in school because he hates chocolate. Like, he won't touch it. But that's just his thing. So that's been neat to see how much nutrition and health has become a part of our lives in our family. And obviously Lindsay's a big driver of that. And you can see her passion to want to help us and help other people. And she's knowledgeable at it. And, she's a bit of a nutrition geek, but she knows what she's talking about. And at first I completely thought she was uncredible. I also didn't know what I was talking about at the time, but yeah, so that's number 9 on the list. Number 8 is fulfillment. So this is something that I've really noticed for Lindsay is that, when you're having babies the whole time and it's just kids screaming at you 24/7 and you haven't showered in 8 days, having something for yourself is maybe 6 days, but
come on, I don't usually push it past 4 or 5.
yeah, but having something for herself was really cool to see. She was able to, have adult conversations again and get back into using her brain in different ways other than just making food and getting yelled at and picking up toys and, getting back into the business world. And she went to school to get an education and she's using that every day with this. So it's cool to see her, proud of herself. And, at the end of a day or an accomplishment, just, you can see in her eyes that there's a sparkle there because she is fulfilled and she's got more than just being a mom, which is, obviously a huge part of her life. But that's been cool for me to witness that, is that she does seem more fulfilled on a day-to-day basis. And it's been, I actually don't know how long she's been in Arbonne, like 3 or 4 years, maybe. I should probably know that, but so I've noticed that big change in her over the years as well. And a big part of that is that she loves to help people, and she gets to do that every day in Arbonne, which is also really neat. And she's always trying to help people, and she's not pushy with her advice, but she's always trying to recommend something that someone could use. And she's always smiling about it and just does that kind of weird high-pitched voice thing. And she's like a little like kid in school, but she just loves being able to help. So number 7 on my list is education and knowledge. So again, this was a big thing for me. It educated me and gave me a lot of insight and knowledge about how to eat healthier and look after yourself better. I can say that I work out significantly less than I used to, and I think I feel better and ultimately look better. By no means am I a fitness model, nor do I strive to be, but that's one thing that I've noticed is that diet is a massive part of it. And, for years I told Lindsay I didn't believe her, but it actually does work. And it's been really cool to see her give that knowledge to some of our family members, like my middle brother. Some of you might know the story, but he lost 80 pounds in 6 months. And he didn't really do Arbonne per se.
He used the products.
He used the products, but just that mindset of wanting to kind of change his life and his eating and just everything about himself. And it was really cool for our whole family to see him struggle with weight and confidence and all this stuff. And he would often lean on Lindsay and Jenny to kind of help guide him through what to do. And that was really neat to see. And so he did that in 6 months. And so for me as his older brother, that was amazing to see. And I know that Arbonne did play a big part in that. And it's also just helped, other people see what the effects can have. Like the guys at hockey would make fun of me when I was not drinking in the dressing room and doing the Arbonne 30, and they'd all poke fun at me. But then, they pull you aside, like, so what are you doing? Like, you kind of look good. And, guys in the dressing room actually were curious to know, why wasn't I drinking for 30 days? So that's been a big part. So for me, education and knowledge is a big part of, what it's done for the family. And I know that Lindsay learns something new every day, and then she's happy to share that with other people. Number 6 on my list is income. So this obviously, every job has an income. There's a compensation model that goes with it. It's certainly not the most important part of any job, but it's still a crucial part of it. And we all know that Arbonne is beyond generous with their compensation if you're able and willing to do the work to make it happen. I remember, when she first started and I was the sole breadwinner of the house, like that was a pretty stressful thing. I was still finding my way in business and owning my own business and supporting Lindsay and the kids. Just bought a house. And, as a guy, you keep that pretty quiet and you just go out and do it. And you think, well, it's my job and Lindsay's gonna look after the kids. But I quietly kept a lot of stress and anxiety about that and make sure that I could always pull it off and that we had enough food to eat and, we had the lifestyle we wanted. And you don't bring that up typically because she's got other stuff to deal with. But I remember the first time that she got a check that paid the mortgage, I was like, holy shit, like this paid the mortgage. And that was like it was a big moment of relief for me quietly. Again, I didn't say much about it, but I remember thinking, okay, this does work. And I know how much she wanted to contribute to the family in another way than just, looking after the kids and raising them exceptionally well. But it was just cool to see that she was able to contribute that way. And I mean, obviously I wasn't saying no to the checks coming in. That was great. And it's been an added bonus. And I know just from being close to a lot of you in Arbonne that the opportunity of what you can earn is amazing if you're willing to put the work in and there's rarely a job where there's no cap on what you can do if you want to really do it. And I think that's pretty incredible. And also there's a lot of recognition compared to most places. And I often joke about all the recognition there is, but I think that there's something to be said for that because I think it indirectly pushes people to, everyone wants to know they're doing a good job, and if it's something small. So the income is a big part of it, and it's allowed us to have a safe family vehicle, something Lindsay really pushed for. That was a goal of hers. And that was something that we would have had to buy anyway. And that would have been a stress on me to make that happen. And she made it happen. So that is a big
And
part.
the team.
Well, yeah, the whole team did, obviously. But so that is that's a big one on my list, but it's nowhere near the top. But number 5 on the top 10 list is community and friendships. So Lindsay has made a ton of amazing friends from Arbonne, and it's no doubt that I've witnessed that there's a huge community. And when you are starting out as a business owner, it's very, very lonely. And that's one thing that I noticed. Like, I mean, I've been the only owner of my business for 10 years. And when you start out and you sit in an office by yourself and you don't have anybody that you can talk to or relate to, it does it's lonely. So the more people you have that, have relevant experiences and you can just brainstorm with, and you're talking to weekly and having this routine of these calls and the strategy sessions and all the coaching and mentoring that Arbonne provides, that's one thing I've noticed is a huge, huge plus compared to a lot of organizations. And that's one thing that I think I wish more people would focus on, is surrounding themselves with like-minded people. Even if it's a competitor, it makes you better. And I know that everyone on the team, knowing each other and talking to each other every week does make you better. And you ultimately make lifelong friends because of that. So that's been really neat to see too. And I've definitely witnessed that and noticed that part of Arbonne. Number 4 on my list is positivity. So, I mean, this isn't something that Lindsay really struggles with naturally. She's always quite positive, but it's been nice to see the positivity and the message that Arbonne has typically brought about everything. Again, sometimes it's like overly positive. Like, I'm like, holy crap, tone it down. But it's when you really kind of, put it down to its core, like the positivity and that mindset that you can do anything you want to do is amazing. And I think a lot of times that even like with me and my own business, things that will hold me back is just how I'm thinking about it. And when I spin the lens a different way and think, look outside myself and what can I do to make this better, or where's the silver lining in it? That's one thing I've noticed. Arbonne is always pushing everybody to be positive and look outside the box and figure out how can I make this different and better and, change something else. And they're always supporting everybody else and being positive for a team member who might make even the smallest milestone. Everyone's cheering them on. And I think that's pretty neat that, it's just part of your culture as a company. And I wish more companies would do that, because I think it does go a long way in just pushing everybody to be better. Number 3 on my list is confidence. Again, I think all of these things kind of tie in to themselves, but this is one thing I've noticed in Lindsay is her confidence has grown immensely. And it's something that I've always, wanted for her. And it's been amazing to see her kind of grow as a person and an entrepreneur and kind of flourish into leading people. I mean, she is very extroverted, but I wouldn't say that she's always been like screaming at the front of the room to lead a pack of people. But it's been amazing to see her grow into that and learn public speaking and how to articulate herself and get her message across. And you can tell just in the 3-ish years she's done this, that she's grown a lot. And it's just being exposed to this and learning from other leaders on her team and going to conferences and the education and all that stuff. So seeing the confidence in her has been something that I really appreciated. And I know that she's probably just that kind of the tip of the iceberg of where she could go with it, but that's been a big change. And I think anyone that starts in a business and you have to speak to people, it's always scary at first and you don't really know what to do, but the more you do it, the less scary it is. And you just pretend everybody's naked and slowly it just happens. And so that has been cool for me. And that's why it's at the top of my list, because I think that confidence, it doesn't mean that it's, braggadocious or it's an ego, but it's the confidence to know that you believe in what you're doing and that you're doing it for a reason and that you're surrounded with the right people to do it. And it's just, it comes out naturally and I've seen that with Lindsay. So that's been cool. Number 2 on my top 10 is the flexibility. So one thing I learned quickly about Lindsay when I met her was that her dream was always to be a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, well, that's great, but like, we need to make money too. And I was raised in a very, I was raised in a household where my parents both worked. Lindsay's mom didn't work. She was a stay-at-home mom and her dad worked and was the sole breadwinner. And so I wasn't exposed to that structure growing up, and Lindsay was. And I think that was one thing that we definitely had to kind of discuss, like, is this actually going to be a thing? But it was always her dream to do that. And it was amazing to see that when she found something that allowed her to do that and still contribute to the family financially and do something that she loved and that she was passionate about, that was pretty neat. And she's figured out how to kind of expertly weave it in and out of her life and does it at little times when it makes sense. And as everyone knows with Arbonne, sometimes it's complete chaos and it's a shit show when I find out there's a call in 10 minutes and I didn't know, and I'm putting the kids to bed now all of a sudden. And so you have to get creative with it, but that's the whole point of the flexibility. And I think that's a pretty amazing part of our family life, is that we kind of just do it whenever it makes sense. And Lindsay does it when it makes sense. And, a lot of times I'll catch her sitting at the kitchen island till midnight working when everyone's asleep. She's already worked with the kids. They're not her colleagues, but she's already parented the kids all day and then makes dinner. And then, then she'll work for 5 hours. And I mean, that's not easy to do. It's a long day, but she's always had a reason of why she was doing that. And, she achieved her goal of getting the Benz and the promotion, and her team is promoting. But it's the flexibility. She can do it whenever she wants. And there's not a lot of jobs like that out there that can do that. So that's a huge one for me, is that she's living on her dream of being a stay-at-home mom, but she's also doing something she's passionate about, and she's able to share with people and educate them on about the things that she really loves. And that's huge. So that's why that one's so high up on my list. And the number 1 thing on my late night top 10 Arbonne list is happiness. So Lindsay is happy doing this, and that's the best thing about it. I remember when she used to work at her other job, she'd come home. It was a job. She was making a paycheck, but she ultimately wasn't, lit on fire by that job. And she suffered from migraines. She had a great group of people at that job. She had made great friends, but she just she was kind of empty with it for the most part. There was things about it that she loved, but to see her doing this now, this is what she loves doing. And I think anyone that has a job, if it doesn't make you happy, my motto is just don't do it. I mean, obviously you can't just quit your job, but if you can do something that you love and it's easy, meaning it doesn't feel like work and you enjoy it, to me, that's the ultimate thing. And so that's why that's number 1 on my list, is I've noticed that she's a different woman than she was 6 years ago when she worked at a corporate job, where she's genuinely happy doing this. And she loves sharing. She loves educating her friends, her family. She loves being part of this team. She loves leading her team and learning how to do that. And she loves the life that she's creating. And she loves that I don't eat bagels all the time anymore. That's a big one for her. But so that is my number 1, because she's happy. And ultimately she's a better version of herself for us, and that makes me happy. So that's my top 10 list of what I noticed about Arbonne and what it's done for our family and for Lindsay. So yeah, I'll leave you with that. I mean, I've never had this many women's attention at one time. This is fantastic. So like, I'll take questions if you want. But
take a picture of this.
so that's it. That's all I got.
Well, okay, first of all, thank you, Ben. That was
You're
amazing. I didn't expect that to be like a rah Lindsay chat. Like,
well, I told you what Arbonne
know.
does for you.
I know, but I think the key message to point out here is that whether you have like a spouse, a part, like whatever your situation is, bring them into your journey with you. Be a team, and you never know what they're seeing and noticing in you, and how this business can impact them as well. I know Ben mentioned that like there's the financial side of it that really, I didn't know at the time that he was struggling that much with it. But, just keeping focus on what your goals are and not letting your current situation where you're at, if you're unhappy, like hold you back, or let your why hold you back. Because if you grow through that and work your way through it, the waterfall effect is noticed not just on you and your team, but those that surround you every single day. So yeah, I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Can I go?
Can Ben be excused?
I see a question in the chat, Lindsay.
I have to take out the garbage.
We'll let you get back to your daily duties there in a second. We're not done with you yet, Ben. This is awesome. Do you see, was there any apprehensions on Ben's part when you first started?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I remember when I don't know if we were talking or she came home or something, said, I'm doing Arbonne. And I said, well, what the hell is Arbonne? That was my first question. And at the time, the discussion was that Lindsay was likely going to go back to work after mat leave. And then she casually just let the date go by and didn't really tell me or remind herself. And then we're like, okay, I guess you're now unemployed. But so at the time,
yeah, I just kind of quit.
Yeah.
My job and told them I wasn't coming back. I was like, I'll figure it out. That's how I roll. I'm just like, yeah, it'll let the chips fall where they may. I had to like, just do that. Like, just say no. I asked for part-time. They said no. So I was like, okay, I'll find another way.
So
Please
yeah,
say yes.
Short answer is at the time I didn't really put my resistance, but I did have some questions. And when she kind of explained what it was, and I realized it was a traditional business, it just skipped the retail side of it. And there were relatable products that everybody uses every day. And I did maybe 5 minutes of research on it. I'll be honest. I didn't like spend days digging into it, but I'd heard enough about it, and she seemed serious about it enough that I just said, well, yeah, give it a shot. I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So that was about it from what I remember.
And his thing was always don't like not wanting, like if we went out with friends for them, like that all I talk about with friends. And for me to push that on every time we went out, he didn't want our friends to like, be like, okay, here comes that crazy Arbonne lady again.
Yeah, I did say that.
Yeah. So that was a big thing. And then also when I first started, like we kind of worked out the numbers, what I would have to make to earn to be able to stay at home. And so that was my, like, that number was my driving force, because like I quit my job and like I had no other choice unless I went back to the corporate world, which I was determined not to do. So I just kind of had to, focus on whatever your vision or like ultimate goal is, whether it's number, whether it's like whatever it is, focus on that so heavily that none of the other fluff that's coming into view clouds you away from that. Yes, Paige, you may unmute and ask a question.
Hey,
dun, dun, dun.
So I was just curious, because I feel like with most situations, the man in your guys' case, Ben's going to work. Lindsay, you're home doing everything. I'm curious if you guys had a bit of a transition. You know what I'm saying. But was there like a bit of transition period, do you feel, Ben, that maybe you were like, okay, hold on a sec, I'm doing this now and I wasn't doing this before? And not that you didn't want to do it, but I feel like I know like we had it in our house. I'm just curious if you guys experienced that too, where there was just that, like you were kind of maybe being delegated or told, or dishes slammed on the counter that you needed to like kind of step in, you know, like a bit of a transition period there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the one thing that I've always tried to do with our kids, because I was typically busy with work, and I remember when Noah was young, I regret not seeing him as much, and I don't remember a lot of those really young years. And so I tried not to make that mistake with the other girls, even though I don't remember anything about Harper as a baby either. She's the middle one, which is terrible, but I've always tried to be there for bath and bedtime, no matter what. And I'll tell clients, you know, my max is 6 o'clock, 6:30 for a meeting. And then I've got kids and I'm going to bed. I'm going home to put them to bed. So, and I'll tell clients that because often they'll want me to meet at, 6 to 9 PM when they're home from work. And I said, well, I can't do that. I've got a family. So that's one thing that I've always tried to keep pretty sacred, is that, the bath and bedtime is my deal. And so that didn't change a lot, but what maybe did change is that, after I was done that, Lindsay might be on calls or out or, doing something. And then, I would see that, hey, she didn't do what she normally would have, like cleaning up or whatever. So I would just do it. So I think that's changed a bit. And also the fact that she now has a social life and does things for herself and goes away on conferences on weekends. I've been thrust into, keeping the kids alive for 3 days. And that was a change, but it's been fun. And, my family all text to make sure if everything's okay, as if I literally can't do it. But that's been neat, because now that she's out and has this life of her own again and is in this world, I'm doing a lot more with the kids than maybe before she would have just naturally done it.
And I think too, he knows like every Monday, those are my calls. So he knows to not book anything. He knows like he better be there for 8 o'clock.
I still ask every week what time.
He still asks every single week, but I mean, he's still there. He knows Mondays, yes, are non-negotiable. And when I have like events, he's like, okay, like, because we've kind of shifted. And I think like we don't watch TV anymore, because when I work, he'll do his thing or he'll do some work in the evening, and our priorities have just shifted a little bit. And because we both kind of fed off of each other's new routines and like tried to work those in together. And I know that's not the case for everyone. And I know not everyone has like the same setup, but find what works for you guys. Maybe like letting them know where you're going in this business, because oftentimes maybe our spouse isn't as supportive because they're not seeing your vision and they're not seeing the effort put in from you to reach that vision. And I know that often can cause a little bit of conflict. So yeah, I think I'm terrible at sometimes saying, I'm like, I have an event tonight, but I'm like, it's only 15 minutes. So whatever, like go like brush your teeth and like go on social media for 15 minutes and I'll be right with you. Like, so it's like the beauty of this business is it doesn't really take us far away right now, like, because if you're building it online, right? And so, yeah, we just know the non-negotiables. Yes, Mona.
Ben, that was awesome, first of all.
Thanks, Mona.
Second of all, I want to ask you guys, because this is something I think a lot of, that wife guilt, mom guilt side of things, a lot of the times in the business. When did you both, and I would say this is like a partnership thing, is when did the business shift into a business for you, Ben? Because a lot of husbands, this side hustle sometimes isn't the business, or you're not really running a business until there's that shift, right? And I feel like people would want to hear it from a husband's point of view.
Well, I hate to be this binary, but it did kind of be when like the paychecks legitimately, grew, and I saw what she was doing. And I know it's like anything, they say it takes 5 to 10 years for any business to actually make money or be successful. And Arbonne can happen a hell of a lot faster than that, which is amazing. But I think for me, that was a big thing. Like I said, I was like, holy crap, like this is, you're making what you made at your old job and you were with the kids all day. So that was part of it. But I think the more that she started to structure it like a business with, a routine and having goals and writing things down and having, an agenda or a calendar with meetings and, how many people she's reaching out to that week. Just when she shifted how she approached it, and it was no longer necessarily a hobby, but Lindsay was all in on this from day one. So that was neat. And she also, thankfully, she was able to do that. I know not everybody has that option because they have other jobs. And so for her, it was a bit different because she was in the deep end right away, and she can't even swim.
True. It's true. I can.
But she literally
Fun
was.
fact.
So she committed to it. And so I don't think it took long for me to realize that it was a real thing for her. But I think, like, obviously when the paychecks started to make a difference in our family, that was huge.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I really can't swim. Might jump in on my kids' swimming lessons.
All right. there we go.
Any other questions? Awesome.
I just want to say a huge thank you, Lindsay and Ben. This video should go viral. Like, seriously. Ben, you're pretty funny. I'll give you that for sure. But the whole dynamic, the top 10, even the way in which you listed those top 10 shocked me. I was like 100% on board with it all. It was so incredible, so well done. And don't tell me you did that in like 5 minutes, Ben, did you? Of course, right?
I actually wrote it down about 30 minutes ago.
Oh my God, like it was so good, you guys. And obviously the dynamic between both of you. And yeah, I didn't know this was happening tonight. So it was just such a great surprise and hilarious again. And I think that a lot of husbands, I know Andrew's watching, but many husbands need to watch this. So I'm so glad that we recorded it. And thanks again, you guys, for doing this. It was fantastic.
Thanks
You're
for
welcome.
enlightening us, everyone.
Right. Thanks for having me. See ya.
Bye. See you on your region calls.
Okay, bye, guys.